Welcome back to Behind the Routes. Continuing on with the story, we're going to give Classy her meds and then head to school to pick our gender and sexuality. This time, the fastest option is either cis straight boy or cis straight girl. Either way, you get the same lines of dialogue. The cis gay options both give additional dialogue from Mr. Mackey, and any trans and non-binary options, or any other sexualities lead to a long questionnaire that takes too long to do. Once outside, we're once again going to fight the rednecks with the same party as before. In this fight, Alternate Kite is scripted to appear on the 4th turn and uses laser attack, which skips the person's turn and wastes a lot of time on top of it. So we're aiming to take out the rednecks by the 3rd turn. After the new kid does a double ghastly grasp, the middle redneck will survive with a tiny bit of health left. This is actually perfect because him surviving means we can time pause his turn and take him out, and the bottom redneck in one time pause. After that, Mosquito will take out the final redneck with a Zeker Rush. We're then heading over to the cops to get our junior detective badge before going back to the Coon Lair where we get our next class, which is Final Girl again to skip the tutorial. We've also unlocked 2 more classes, though neither are used at all. Assassin has a good single target attack with a base potency slightly higher than Brutal Bash, but it scales off Spunk instead, and because a touch of Youth DNA, which is the only Spunk DNA we reasonably use in the run, decreases Brawn, we want to avoid Spunk skills now that we have Time Pause. Plus it inflicts Bleed, which wastes animation time with a weak debuff. Spin Slash isn't too great potency-wise given our other options, and Shadow Swap being a clone of Coon Pounce but with Invisible isn't too useful either. The ultimate Deadly Dive is really close to being useful due to its range, but the potency is just a tiny bit too low to one-shot Professor Chaos, which is the only place where it would be useful. Gadgeteer has 2 summons which would just add on to animation time and can't take advantage of crits. Then there's Gigavolt Globe which does a little bit of damage and inflicts shock. The class we're going to replace Final Girl with will be Psychic, as it's useful for exactly one fight much further down the line. Or if you did a class 2 before, you get Brutalist instead, which will save about 2 more seconds on Professor Chaos. We're also going to do some shopping here to get the Cosmic Class recipe and some glue. We're using this time to craft a Cosmic Class which we equip right away. By now, we should have the Enthusiastic Artifact Hunter title done, which unlocks the next major artifact slot for us. The Cosmic Class are good because they raise critical damage by 12% each. By default, we have 10% critical damage, and this boosts us up to 22% for a good chunk of extra damage. We could have crafted and equipped this much earlier, but the extra stat boost doesn't save time on any fights. In fact, it actually loses time on the Redneck's 2 fight because the middle Redneck would have died, which ruins the time pause setup. We're also going to swap out Super Crack for Henrietta. This is mainly for her attack buff, but she also changes the new kid's starting position on a few fights for some reason, which ends up being very helpful in a few places. Now that we've finished with our preparations, we're going to go and fight the Freedom Pals again. Dr. Timothy is the most annoying enemy in this fight because he can summon a bunch of kindergartners into the fights. Plus, every time he gets hit, he teleports away. Thankfully though, his teleports are not random, so we can plan around it. On the 1st turn, the new kid will move to the far right and use Dire Shroud on Tupperware for some damage. After that, we'll skip Mosquito and the Coon's turns. I want Mosquito in his default position because Toolshed will actually target him, but he's just out of range. Next we'll have Henrietta move to the right and buff the new kid with attack up to boost his damage. We'll then time glitch Dr. Timothy to avoid him bringing in the kindergartners. Unfortunately, we can't punch him in time pause because A, Toolshed is blocking the way, and B, he'll teleport away, which messes with any setups I've tried. Mysterion will attack the new kid, which also blocks off Tupperware from attacking, so he'll instead try to target both the new kid and Henrietta, whom he can't reach. Now with this positioning, all the Freedom Pals will be linked together, so we'll double edge and do a double Ghastly Grasp. After the first Ghastly Grasp, Dr. Timothy will teleport to the corner, which, thanks to Toolshed aiming for Mosquito earlier, will keep him linked up to the chain of enemies. Now we can have Mosquito take out Dr. Timothy with a Zeker Rush while either the Coon or Henrietta can take out Tupperware. After the fight, we'll go into the boys' restroom to grab the 5th and final Yaoi we need for the run, earning us $10 as well as 140 scrap from Craig's data which we put in our toy chest. While we could have gotten this earlier on the way to the drug dealer's house, the rewards we get from Craig's data actually scales off progress, so we get significantly more scrap now. Before we go to bed for the night section, we're going to collect all the stuff from our toy chest, which includes a ton of biohazard from beating all the bosses, as well as scrap from the Yaoi. We're going to use these to craft a bunch of scarabs, which is a recipe we got from beating the Raisins girls in the alleyway. We want to get up to level 11 crafting in order to upgrade our Ubisoft rewards again for extra stats, as well as craft 2 Cosmic Clasps plus 3. This may seem weird because we can only equip 2 Cosmic Clasps and the additional boost from the improved Cosmic Clasp is tiny, but it actually saves a good chunk of time on the next fight because of how absurdly close Toolshed is from one-shotting an enemy. As for Toolshed, he's unfortunately forced into the party for this section. He's one of the weaker party members, though we'll see some use for him later on because of the way his kit works. His first skill, Spiral Power, has 200% potency and hits in a V shape. While it's nice that he can attack without blocking us, this is his strongest attack for a single target, which is a bit unfortunate. We do end up using this a few times in the entire run when we do finally see enemies in diagonals, but it's not that useful. His Drill Slinger attacks 3 enemies on both sides and inflicts knockback. It's extremely weak, but the ability to knock back an entire row will be helpful for one fight. His Revitatron 9000 is just an AoE heal, so it's useless in the run. His ultimate Full Bore has 700% potency, which makes it tied for highest potency out of all allies at least. The animation is really long, though it gets the job done in the one time where we use it. Behind the ruins of Soto Sopa, we're going to fight some bums who've been living here. We're going to blow up the barrel to do some damage before engaging. On the first turn, Nuke's going to walk to the far left and Dire Shroud the bum from below to get rid of him. After that, Tolsha's going to use Spiral Power on the 2 bums who are lined up for him. The bottom guy has 130 HP and Tolsha does 131 damage, so you can see how absurdly close the damage is. When the last bum takes his turn, we're going to time pause him and punch him 5 times to end the fight. Going into the used storage, we're going to get our party members back and swap out Human Kite for Henrietta. In total, there's 2 waves, so it gives us the opportunity to fill up our ultimate gauge, which is also why we wanted to equip the Hidden Blade earlier. On the first turn, Nuke will go up and take out the minions in the corner with a double Ghastly Grasp. Next we'll have the Kun use Kun Lunge to hit both minions and end off the wave with a Drill Slinger. Now on to round 2. For this phase, we'll start by having Henrietta cast Satanic Seal on herself to give herself attack up. On the first minion's turn, we'll time pause him and punch the bottom left minion 4 times. The goal for this fight is to balance the round of damage to take out everyone with Henrietta's ultimate. The Kun will move 1 to the right and skip his turn to avoid getting hit here. When the new kid gets his turn, we're going to move him 1 space to the right to avoid getting hit and then double edge and use a Dire Shroud on the minion to his right, then the other to his left. Tolsha's going to skip his turn and then Henrietta will use Black Mass to take out all the minions. While the Kun could also use its ultimate Primetime Kun, it does significantly less damage and requires an extra attack from Tolsha to defeat one straggling enemy, so bringing in Henrietta ends up being better than simply keeping Human Kite in the party. Next up is a general disarray fight. Don't blink or you might miss it. New Kid starts off by moving closer then double edging for some additional movement. He'll then cast a Dire Shroud on General Disarray and skip his turn right next to him. We'll then time pause the first kid that moves and defeat General Disarray with a full 6-punch time pause to end the fight. Funny enough, the cutscenes will still continue even though Disarray is down, but it'll end as soon as the final cutscene is over. If you're not confident in doing a 6-punch, you can also do a double Dire Shroud from this position instead and do a 4-punch time pause, losing only 5 seconds. After the fight, we get this dramatic scene of the Kun refusing to leave Super Craig to die. As a last-ditch effort, New Kid will shove Toolshit's Sandblaster tube up his ass, which unlocks his Sandblaster Buddy ability. While the game would expect you to go to the rooftops with Human Kites, we're actually going to ditch him and go through the entrance instead, which he calls us out on Kunstagram. Next, we're going to fight some meth heads who've been collecting cat piss. Good thing Kenny isn't here, or else he'd probably get too high and lose another one of his millions of lives. There's a ton of explosive barrels scattered across the map here, so we'll be taking advantage of them by having the new kid stand right next to the barrel here and Ghastly Grasp to deal some damage to the meth heads and cause a chain reaction of barrels exploding to take them out one by one. The meth heads each die in one barrel and they explode in the reverse order of when they were hit. Once we're on one of the useless barrels, we'll cancel it out with a time pause and go punch the barrel at the bottom as well as the other meth head 3 times to get him low enough to die to the explosion. Now we'll just wait for the final barrel to kill off the remaining meth head to end the fight and even skip the cutscene where Call Girl joins us. Don't worry though, because that doesn't skip her actually joining the party. Call Girl is the second most useful party member we're getting, arguably the most important due to her joining so much earlier than Mysterion. Her first skill, Selfie Stick Strike, is a powerful single target attack having 325% potency. The skill unfortunately also inflicts slow, which is a bad debuff that adds on to animation time on enemy turns. Phone Destroyer is the best part of her kit, though the animation is ridiculously long, so we're using it sparingly. It's a single target attack with massive range and inflicts defense down. This lets her attack from almost anywhere on the map despite only having 2 move, and she can drastically boost the damage of 1 attack. Block is also going to be used to cheese a fight in the future, just like with Super Craig on the security team fights. Last is her ultimate Flash Mob, which is also really good. Its potency is pretty high for a skill that hits all enemies on the field and even inflicts defense down on everyone. It's one of the longer ultimates, taking 14.7 seconds, but it's really good on the battles where enemies are scattered across the map. Before going into the next fight, we're going to swap party members. Kun will be swapped for Call Girl and Henrietta for Fast Pass. We want the 2 of them in this specific order because party order matters for the fight against Butter's dad. Now for the Chaos Minions 2 fight. The new kid will move down 1 space and use a Ghastly Grasp on the enemies on the bottom. Next, Fast Pass will use Blindside on the top row of enemies, deal some damage and turn invisible. Toolshot will then move to the top left corner to avoid getting hit, and Call Girl will skip her turn. The Chaos Minion next to Fast Pass has a ranged attack, but he can't reach anyone thanks to Fast Pass being invisible. Now New Kid will move up to this spot and use a Ghastly Grasp to take out all the remaining enemies. We're then going to skip everyone's turns to get to the next wave of enemies to come. Our positioning makes it so that the enemies will all be connected, so that new kid can use a double ghastly grasp and take them all out at once. Now on the third wave, we force the robot to spawn between Toolshed and Callgirl, which puts him out of position to hit anyone. We're going to have Toolshed use Spiral Power for some damage and have Callgirl use Phone Destroyer to inflict defense down, then skip Fast Pass's turn because we don't want to waste the defense down. Then we'll time pause on the robot and punch him 6 times to take them out. The Spiral Power from earlier is a very minor optimization if you're extremely confident in getting the 6th punch. Otherwise, you can just skip Toolshed's turn and then after the time pause, you use Spiral Power if you got the 6th punch, or Hit and Run if you only got the 5th punch.